Welcome to the Automotive Blockchain channel, everybody. When you think about cryptocurrencies, one of the top ones that comes to many people's minds once you escape the Bitcoin and Ethereum way of thinking, you want to consider some things such as Cardano. That is right, ADA. And now Cardano has entered the automotive space. And before I get into that, I want to just let everyone know this is not, by any stretch of the imagination, investment advice. Please do your own research. Definitely research things and look into them before you go ahead and invest. But that being said, over here in CoinMarketCap, Cardano is currently listed as of today, sitting at about 33 to 34 cents. And recently, Cardano has introduced their first automotive project with eTukTuk. And this was announced at Davos earlier this year. But as many people know, not everyone can keep track of everything that goes on in Davos. Now, what is eTukTuk? Well, if any of you have ever been over into the South Pacific or in other parts of the world, you know that you have the random tuk-tuks that run around and then carrying people. Well, this is going to be the electric version of that. And I think it's kind of pretty cool. It's kind of like a glorified golf cart, three-wheeled. But check this out. So the world's first automotive project built on Cardano has announced it will be launching its initial operations in Sri Lanka. It is a bold step that could define the transportation sector for billions of people worldwide. eTukTuk was announced this afternoon at Davos. Now, here's the thing. There have been many attempts to launch this 2- and 3-wheeled electric vehicles at scale, but here's the problem with that, is that a lot of these electric vehicles, and you look at this right here, are prohibitively expensive globally. It costs a lot to launch these things out, and the EVs in and of themselves cost a lot for people who are in these emerging countries. Now, eTukTuk decided to take this to a different height, and so they designed issues have corrected this. So, formed to revolutionize the way we travel, eTukTuk is building a dynamic multi-revenue model that balances sustainability and innovation. The groundbreaking ecosystem is designed to incentivize the expansion of eTukTuk's highly scalable network of charging stations and eTukTuk's proprietary EVs through the Cardano blockchain. Now, this overall is going to support the need for transportation away from fossil fuels in the regions where there is a lack of EV infrastructure. Now, when we're looking at the CO2 side of this things, clearly an electric vehicle is going to be the way to go, especially in these emerging economies. But the issue that they're having right now is getting the charging stations into some of these more remote areas of these emerging countries. So there's going to be some issues associated with that while they try to tackle. Now, that said, a lot of these emerging countries do not have some serious air pollution problems because they don't have the corporate or the infrastructure there in order to produce a lot of pollution. So, blending the benefits of financial inclusivity and the reduction of air pollution, eTukTuk has its sights set firmly on emerging markets, from which 63% of the world's total carbon emissions emanate. Now, it says that in there, that 63% of the world's total carbon emissions emanate, and where pollutants from inefficient transportation are compounding an increasingly urgent economic situation. Now, I have to look at what the stats are, quite frankly, are going to be with some of these emerging markets and who they're classifying in this stat for emerging markets being 63%, because places like necessarily Sri Lanka, when you compare that to, let's say, China, who is not an emerging market, although some parts of Western China may be still emerging. China, by every stretch of the imagination, in its major metropolitan areas, clearly surpass any pollution that many other of these countries do, in my humble opinion. But needless to say, it does need to take place. So, working alongside the local government and the influential industry partners already in place, eTukTuk will initially be deployed in Sri Lanka, where there are currently 1.2 million traditional internal combustion engines, those ICE engine tuk-tuks already on the road. 70% of these are based in the capital of Colombo. These inefficient vehicles emit more CO2 than a car. Now, I do have to say something now, and I know some of you may be thinking, wait a minute, what are you about to say here, dude? It seems to be contradictory. I've been over in Mongolia, and that place is a complete nightmare as it pertains to traffic. There, at the point in time I was there, between the early 2000s on over to 2009, there was no regulation at all on pollution as far as vehicles go. They were pulling in vehicles from all over the world. Most people did like vehicles that came in from the U.S., but they were pulling them in from Korea and China and wherever they could get them from. And the traffic in the middle of the day was going nowhere fast. You were better off riding a bike to get to one side of the town, the other, down in Ulaanbaatar. But needless to say, the pollution was pretty bad. But it wasn't necessarily from the vehicles. It was from the coal-burning gers, or yurts as some people will call them, the gers and all the coal burning industry that they have there. And I can't say that all their smokestacks are, well, clean like the US they are here in the US. So I digress. So here you have over here the wonderful picture that you have, and this is going to be David Taylor from the Cardano Foundation. I'll go ahead and zoom out for you. David Taylor from the Cardano Foundation. You're also going to be having here a few other people that are strategic advisors for eTukTuk. So the global team, including City AM's crypto insider and crypto AM founder James Bowater, who recently joined eTukTuk's advisory board, is working closely with its partners in Sri Lanka to scale its operations. So when we're looking at this, and the problem that is considered to be multi-layered, has the issues being addressed that include, and this is going to help this thing emerge into the market. So a significant lack in charging infrastructure is one. The high cost of EVs is another. Rising carbon emissions in line of population, well, that's another one for down there, they're saying. So by 2050, they think it's set to rise to about 400 million. All right. So a cash-heavy economy. Repeat, a cash-heavy economy. Out of these four, in my opinion, this is the one that companies like Cardano and others out there probably are going to start focusing on, because banking the unbanked, people who are dealing predominantly in cash, 85% of the consumer transactions processed in Sri Lanka are made in cash. Meanwhile, here, as you know, in many of the China, Europe, South America, greater parts of South Africa, Australia, etc., it is all about the credit card or the debit cards. It's all card heavy. Very rarely are people using cash anymore. But this is the idea of banking the unbanked. So I think that there's going to be a big push that as people are purchasing these over the next 10 years, they're also going to be encouraging certain types of economic transition into not cash, but something of a digital variety. So eTukTuk aims to be an affordable transportation network that serves the ties that bind us to fossil fuels. With scalable infrastructure, many more people can easily transit to EVs. Now, I don't know necessarily about that. I think it's going to take a little bit more than a manufacturer coming in there and doing that. There's going to have to be a shift in that particular way that they do things. Maybe something on the scale of a law that must be passed, where people who are purchasing those eTukTuks, or the tuk-tuks in general, would be forced to go ahead and do electric vehicle versions of those. I'm surprised they don't make more of a hybrid. But anyway, many of the emerging markets now have government policies in place, and the transition to electric vehicles is inevitable. And while it's inevitable, I still think it's going to take time, because you have to get all the tuk-tuks off the road and cycle 3, and there's a lot of those on the road, as we just saw up here. So with 270,000 ICE tuk-tuks already on the road, 270 million ICE tuk-tuks already on the road, and you mean to tell me you're going to have to cycle through all of those, age them out, and the people there, they know how to fix these things. So they're not exactly going to be going out and buying a more expensive eTukTuk when they can find the parts, fix them, the ones that they have, and keep them on the road. So they're suggesting that by 2050, there'll be nearly 400 million of these on the road. So we'll see how the transition happens there. I like the way this article is kind of suggesting that people will make the transition. I just don't think it's going to be as on the scale and as adoption as this particular article is denoting. But needless to say, with this, everybody, the eTukTuk and Cardano are now part of a merger, in the sense of merger towards a common goal of getting these tuk-tuks onto the blockchain. So let me know what you think about this, everybody. And hey, again, this is not financial advice. Please go ahead and like, subscribe if you like to. I look forward to that. You know how the algorithms work. I get you. I'll see you soon.